Hello, and welcome to Low Season Traveller Insider Guides, where we speak to local travel industry insiders about the amazing experiences to be enjoyed in their destination during the low season months. I'm Jed Brown, your host and founder of Low Season Traveller, and for this episode, as we're now in September, we thought we'd start to look at options here in the UK for the autumnal low season months. And today's guest is the perfect man to help us. I'm delighted today to be joined by Sean Taggart, who's going to help us get to know what it's like to travel around the UK by coach with his new company, Toureasy. Now, Sean is somewhat of a legend in the UK coach holiday industry, and his new company, which launched just last week, not only has some amazing experiences on offer with some terrific prices, but it also happens to be the UK's first carbon neutral coach tour operator, which of course makes the whole concept even more appealing for low season traveller. Have a listen, see what you think of this wonderful concept. Enjoy. So, Sean, you are most welcome to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. Great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here. How is it? It's interesting. Given we've only just launched, it's frantic is probably the best way of describing it. Lots of excitement, the odd moment of panic, but no, on the whole, it's great. I think that, when you launch a new business, you put something out there, you have this whole project to get it launched, and then suddenly it's not over, it's actually the start. And so, that's the new mountain to climb, but we're excited. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's brilliant. It's so true, isn't it? You do, again, for all of our listeners, and I'm sure maybe some of our listeners have had a similar sort of circumstance, when you're launching something like this, so much groundwork goes in behind the scenes, and you're building towards that launch date. And then, like you say, in your mind, there's a part of you that thinks, phew, we've arrived, we're at that date and it's over. And of course, it is, just the beginning. That's literally, it's day one.
Exactly. So it's a very long birth. And now we've just got to nurse the child through to adulthood and independence, which I'm sure we will.
Absolutely. So look, first of all, tell us a little bit about Toureasy, and tell us why Toureasy?
Why Toureasy? Because I suppose is the best answer, because we can, and we had the idea, and I think it's been nearly a year in gestation in terms of the idea. And if I'm honest, the sustainability element of Toureasy, which is now actually at the heart of the business, is something that evolved probably the last 6 to 9 months. We'd spotted an opportunity for a slightly different type of coach tour operation in the UK, and we were evolving our thoughts. And I had a conversation with a supplier actually, who made a remark that just got me thinking about what actually Toureasy could be, and the opportunities, that the current world is offering us at the moment, and some of the things that we're all looking to address in the current world, and how Toureasy could address that. So we started thinking about the sustainability angle of the new business. And it really snowballed from there. And I think I was just sitting in my desk one day just thinking, okay, so we could go paperless, we could go, we could get very sustainable in our operations, but we're still selling holidays. And I've been in this industry a long time to know that coach holidays are the most sustainable way to travel, unless you're going to get on your bike or walk. You go on a well-loaded modern coach, it does the least damage. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, well, okay, so that's fine, but we as an industry have been making that point for a long time. And how can we really put our money where our mouth is, I suppose? And then I just thought, I wonder what it would take to offset and go carbon neutral. And actually, while we work with our partners in, over the months and years ahead to reduce emissions and make the whole experience more environmentally friendly, how could we make sure we did no damage from day one? And that led to various Google searches and conversations, and we ended up coming into contact with a company called Carbon Footprint, who were really helpful and really interested, because of course no one's done this before in this sector. So the whole project evolved from there, and that was just one element of setting up. So we put sustainability into the heart of what we do, and we really want to, I suppose, make sustainability affordable. So I remember searching for places to go away for a weekend, and actually, it's only a few weeks ago I was trying to take the team away for a little team building session in person, and I thought it would be great to go to a sustainable hotel or in something that, again, like us, is focused on sustainability. And I was Googling around, and firstly, they're very difficult to find. And secondly, they're all at the luxury end. Eco this, boutique that. I mean, they're all great, but that if we're going to change behavior within the broader population, we need to make it accessible and affordable. And coach trips can be that. So we evolved the sustainability project into, okay, we have to be affordable. We can't say that either customers have to do anything extra or pay anything extra to take our trips. So that's why we put the price guarantee in that will match any other operator out there. So it doesn't cost extra to go to take a sustainable trip. And again, we take care of that side of it. We take care of the planet. You go have a great holiday. And that's the core concept of what we're doing. And we jokingly say it'd be quite nice to put ourselves forward as the planet's favorite coach tour operator. And that would be a great thing for us to start doing. But we're learning all the time. And I'm learning around, sustainability was not top of my agenda a year ago. It was important, but I think the world has changed very recently. And I think that that means that there's an opportunity now to take that, and Toureasy just wants to be there, enabling anyone to go on a really sustainable holiday that's also great fun, because responsibility doesn't involve not having fun. You can do both, and that's what we want to prove.
Absolutely love that. I love that. I think, by the way, you should go for it. The planet's favorite travel company. I mean, that's what Ryanair do. Every time on LinkedIn, every time you try and tag Ryanair on anything, it immediately diverts to Ryanair, Europe's favorite airline, which I find really frustrating, especially when I'm trying to berate Ryanair. But what a great opportunity. I think you should just go for it. Just take the place. Nobody can necessarily argue with you on that, really, can they?
No, they can't. And they can't. And you've got to have a bit of fun with it as well.
Absolutely.
So I think the trick is, you've got to take your business seriously, but you don't really want to, as they say, take yourself too seriously. So we do want to put the fun into coach trips and coach holidays, and we want people to enjoy the experience. But of course, it's guilt-free from an environmental perspective.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So obviously, Toureasy is the UK's only carbon neutral coach tour operator. How, just for our listeners to understand, how do you ensure that your operation is carbon neutral? I mean, obviously, it doesn't sound easy, but how do you do that? Just so we can sort of start to understand what that is.
Yeah, and that was exactly obviously that was our starting point too. So it's basically down to our partnership with Carbon Footprint. So Carbon Footprint have been around for a very long time, and they are really good at both measuring emissions and working with really great offset projects. So we basically worked with them to produce a calculator that we use in our business. And basically, we can analyze all the trips we do, from the coach element to the hotel rooms to the attractions, and we can now measure the emissions. Now, some of it is an estimate because some hotels don't know their emissions, and there is an element of estimation to it. But what we've done with Carbon Footprint is built in an uplift to allow for that. So if we're using an estimate, we're estimating on the upside, not on the downside. So basically, we know how many customers are going on that trip. We know the emissions through that whole journey from the moment they get on the coach, the moment they get off the coach. And, we can then calculate those emissions, and that then equates to the amount of carbon offsets we buy in projects we invest in. And Carbon Footprint externally audit our calculations and make sure that we've got it right. And on top of that, we do the same for our business operations. Yep. So we want to be completely without any damage to the planet. We want to, be as sustainable as we can be. Business operations interest is a bit more difficult because, we're a relatively small business, and it's actually quite difficult to measure some of the offsets. So again, our policy is we invest more. So if we have an estimate, we'll purchase offsets that are slightly to the upside, just to make sure that we are carbon neutral. And we've already advanced purchased our first 100 tons. So we think our festive program is probably going to generate around 1,000 tons of CO2 emissions. Depends on how many tours we operate. So we thought we'd pre-invest in 10%. Then we're carbon negative at the moment because we don't actually operate any tours. Yeah. And the really fun bit has been, choosing which projects to invest in, because it's not just about the number. It's, I think that planting trees absolutely is really important, but it's a very long-term solution. And there are projects like with everything. So carbon footprint has been really good at navigating us through the options we've got. And we've invested in 4 projects. And we're really excited by them. Everything from reforestation through to, there's a great project in Indonesia, which is about harnessing underground volcanic power to create electricity. Oh, wow. And that just appealed to us. So there are so many things that you can do, that I'm learning you can do, in order to deliver sustainability in ways you might not immediately think of. So
I love
does that answer?
It absolutely does. It's interesting. We've done on a few podcasts recently. We always focus a little bit more on responsible travel and tourism and sustainable travel and tourism, because that's our passion as well. And it interests me that I was sort of saying to somebody recently, I forget the name of the guest. It might have been Nick Balmain. We were talking about guilt offsetting. Which was really, the conversation went crazy, Sean, to be honest. But what we were talking about is how we live in the age of guilt right now. If I go down the road and I get a coffee from a Starbucks or something, I look at that cup, and as I'm drinking it, I feel guilty. Yeah. Should I be drinking from this cup? Is it sustainable? Is it all of that? If I take the car to go down to the supermarket down the road, really I could walk. It would take me about half an hour. I feel a little bit of guilty. Should I have actually walked instead? And we were talking about this whole notion of, ways to try and, offset your guilt just a little bit, just feel a little bit better about some of those day-to-day decisions that you're taking. And that, again, that's what I love about Toureasy. It's just another way in which you can just kind of ease your guilt a bit. Not going to eliminate all of your guilt. I'm sure there's going to be other things that you're going to feel guilty about with regards to the environment. And by the way, we all should, to a degree, I believe, feel guilty. But this is a great way to ease a little bit of that guilt. And like you say, the prices that you've got on a lot of the breaks, I've been looking through the website, are phenomenal. I mean, they're great prices. But tell me this as well. Do you when you're choosing the hotels that you use as well, do you look at sustainable practices from the hotels? Do you sort of check their sustainability policies and things like that as well?
We asked them to tell us about their sustainability policies, and we asked them to disclose their average CO2 room emissions. And as I said earlier, some do, some don't. I think that our intention is absolutely to work with all of our suppliers and partners. I think for launch, we've worked with suppliers we know, and suppliers that we know love these kind of trips. And that gives us a mixed bag in terms of sustainability. They've all got the same requirements in the contract, but it's about working with them now to make sure that, we can help them with their own sustainability actions. But we also know that, as in any sector, engagement with sustainability is very variable. So our job is really to be a catalyst with them as far as we can. But they're all on different stages of their own journey.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely lovely. Let's talk a little bit about the product, the product itself, the holidays, the trips. First of all, tell us any particular trips that you're featuring over the coming months that you think our listeners might be interested in and should be aware of.
Well, I mean, we're in the process of launching our 2022 program. So at the moment, we have our festive season on sale as our initial offering. And over the next month, we'll start rolling out all of 2022. So I think initially, and who doesn't love a Christmas market? I mean, Christmas market and shopping breaks are an ideal choice for someone on a coach trip, because you want to go when it's busy. So you want to go at the weekend for a Christmas market. That's the time it's a real pain to park. It's busy, and you want to have a couple of glasses of mulled wine, a big stein of beer, a couple of sausages. If you're driving, or even if you get in the train, you've got to get to and from. It's just, there's no hassle with a coach trip. We take you there, we drop you off at the market, you do what you do, you buy your shopping, there's loads of luggage space, you put it back in, you go back to the hotel, you get a nice meal, or you get a nice evening in the hotel, relax, go on. So I think any of the Christmas market breaks are really interesting, and particularly places like Bath, Winchester. We do some really great little Christmas market breaks, just maybe 2 days, 3 days, depending on what you want. And again, loads of inclusions. So I think those I'd highlight as really fun at the moment. But given I'm on low season traveler, I think one of the seasons that people really underrate is January to March in the UK. And I can immediately hear everyone holler at the podcast that it's cold and wet, and it is, but not always. There's some great weather in January, and more importantly, there are some great deals. And coach trips have always been renowned for traveling on and off season. Mm-hmm. And I think that what you do get in January to March is some quite incredible deals. I mean, we refer to it on our website as bargain season, and it is that period. So, the amount of inclusions you'll get, you may be going to the same kind of places you might go at different times of the year in high season, but you're getting a whole load more value included in the price. So, those are always great to look at. And then when we get into main season and we start releasing, our main product, it's all about the inclusions. Yeah. The thing about our trips is that we don't sell optional extras. So the price you pay is the price you pay. You just take spending money with you. You don't need to worry about any nasty surprises. Mm-hmm. And whether it's cream teas, steam train rides, entrances to Alton Towers, whatever it is, it's in. And I think it just gives people lots of choice, and it's all about being easy, dare I say it, and certainly guilt-free and hassle-free. It's a great lazy holiday maker's choice. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. I mean, I was going to come on to that actually with regards to the low season, because obviously, at the moment you are very much focused on, focused on the UK and Ireland. Should make that really clear for all of our listeners. We've got listeners outside of the UK as well, and anybody considering travel within the UK once you're able to come over here. Then obviously this is there's some great trips on here which would be really of interest. But it was interesting to us, of course, that you have launched this at what is the start of the low season period for the UK, and I'm sort of wondering, does that make it an extra challenging? I mean, apart from what's been going on with COVID, does that make it an extra challenging time of the year for you to be launching, or is that something that kind of excites you? Is it a good time of the year?
Well, I think we'd all admit that after the challenges of COVID, there are no challenges. Yeah, there's just the odd bump in the road. There are no challenges left anymore after COVID. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think it matters with our kind of business and with the kind of products and tours that coach trips offer. There is no such thing as high and low season. You get different types of holiday depending on the season, but we operate year round. Right? We have operationally, January is very quiet. And February builds up and March gets busier. But we have customers that if they're looking for the value, they'll go in those low seasons. If they're looking for the weather or something, they'll go in the high season. But the thing about coach tour operations is they are year round. And actually, this is a really good. I mean, I hope it's a good time to launch. People are starting to turn their minds from summer and autumn into Christmas and festive. So that will hopefully strike a chord. And then they'll start thinking into next year. I think you've had, through the last 18 months, everyone, the vast majority have been so cooped up. There's this great demand to travel. And I'm hoping that it's actually one of the biggest opportunities our entire industry will have is that pent up demand. And hopefully we can take advantage. So I think it's a very exciting time for us to be launching. But it's also a relatively crowded time to launch. There's a lot of stuff out there, and it's just trying to make sure that we can get our message across and make sure that people like what we do. And if they like what we do, hopefully we can give them a great holiday.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And one question I wanted to ask as well is, traditionally in the UK market, we've tended to, rightly or wrongly, sort of view, coach holidays are for, people who are retired or in their 70s or 80s. Is that an outdated description? Is that the core market? What kind of people are taking coach holidays today?
That's a very interesting question. I think there is some truth to it. There is a strong, older travelers, more mature travelers certainly do enjoy the benefits of a coach trip because of the convenience, the ease, the value, all the things that we're talking about. But I spent 10 years chairing the Coach Tourism Association, which is the body that represents and promotes the industry. And we always used to say, you never know who's on the coach. And there is not such a thing. There isn't such a thing as a this is a coach customer. They are all individual. Again, those of your listeners who have heard of Monty Python, we are all individuals. They are all different people. And I think that more and more people are opening their eyes to the fact that, particularly on a short break, and we specialize at the moment on shorter breaks. So our longest trips are 5 or 6 days, and a lot of our stuff is over weekends. And I think that we're seeing increasingly younger people. And whether it's groups of friends getting away or even family breaks, because of course, if you take a family break on a coach, you don't have to worry about the driving or anything else. And generally there are other kids on the coach. So, children are distracted, makes it easier. And again, all taken care of. So, there is absolutely that core cohort of people that enjoy a coach holiday, and they tend to be more mature, and they tend to take the more traditional breaks to the seaside or some of the country trips, but town and country trips. But there's an increasing recognition and usage by people that are in a completely different demographic, and so anyone can enjoy a coach trip. And I think certainly you're never too young to have a great time on a coach trip. It just depends on your mindset, and it's the most sociable way to go on holiday. If you enjoy traveling and you're not in a big rush, because they're not the fastest things in the world, but if you're happy to travel at a reasonable pace, but you enjoy sharing experiences with other people, meeting people, making new friends. I mean, some people on coach trips make lifelong friends just off one trip. Yeah. So I think people are realizing there are all these things that actually make it a really interesting choice. And it's great to mix up the ages. So anyone is potentially a coached or passenger or customer, and increasingly they are.
I've got to say, Sean, so I've never done a coach trip myself, a coach holiday, and after looking through the website,
not yet, Jed,
not yet. Well, no, exactly what I was going to say is, 100%, I'm really up for it. I'm looking through the website as you're speaking, and I'm looking at the different destinations, and I'm just thinking to myself, it's one of those. It's almost like a light bulb moment for someone like me. Just point out to the audience, I am 50. That's my age demographic, but I've got 2 young kids as well. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I get it. I just get it. Because, like you're saying, the ease, the not having to actually drive, the fact that instead of driving with the wife and kids somewhere, we could sit on a coach and actually have some nice conversations, without feeling that we should be doing something else. You've just got that kind of almost dead time that you can just have a chat. How's things going at school at the moment or whatever else. I just absolutely get it. And then when I see the prices as well, I'll be honest, that kind of makes me kind of feel good, because they're really reasonable prices when you're used to looking at traveling along with the hassle as well by air, as I've done many times. And then, combined with the fact that it's carbon neutral as well, which actually is something that we all want to support. And, our kids are driving this as well. My daughters, they learn all about the environment at school, and they're the ones that they're asking these difficult questions. We the other week we got a soda stream because we were always getting plastic bottles of fizzy water. And that was partly because they were sort of saying, well, look, we're producing a lot of plastic here and it's single use. So I think they're driving it as well. So maybe there could be a bit of pester power, which could.
I think there's absolutely pester power, and I think the other thing that has maybe stopped people taking coach trips in the past is unfortunately the stereotype and the fact that they've got to join in with everything. There's a line between enjoying being social and feeling you've got to go to whatever entertainment's laid on, or the excursion today. And I think trying to allay those myths, there's a lot included in these trips. But if you just want a lazy day at the hotel, or you want to go and have supper with someone else, there's no obligation to do anything. And I think sometimes people's perceptions are, well, we've got to just do everything with the group. The point is that our group holidays, you do travel together, you travel there and back together, and you have the opportunity of doing lots of things together whilst you're away. you can do your own thing if you want. No one is going to think badly of you, or there's no sort of calling out of numbers in the morning. And I think trying to dispel that myth as well, that everything is, you have to do things together just because you're traveling together. It's not the case.
Yeah. One question for you at the moment. I mean, obviously, we should obviously point out this is very, very early days. You've just sort of launched. Do you envisage that most of the clients will be from the UK, or do you believe that as time progresses, there will be more overseas people taking these trips as well? Not trips, I should say, the holidays, breaks.
Well, short breaks, holidays, trips, having a good time. I think that the majority will be UK, but of course, and again, it depends where we end up with our pickup routes, because the thing about the coach holidays, obviously, there's a pickup and an endpoint. So I think that it would be a really interesting thing to have more international visitors, more international guests, and I think they'd love it. I think that the thing about travel is meeting people from different cultures. It's one of the great, fabulous things about traveling. And of course, if you mix people from overseas with the locals on things like coach trips, where you do spend extended periods of time together, that cultural understanding, learning, fun just sort of magnifies itself. So I think it would be a great thing for us to see. And I think that means, when we think about our pickup routes and our marketing, obviously, it's about attracting anyone from anywhere. Not only want to be affordable, we want to be highly inclusive, and I think it'd be a wonderful thing. We'd love it.
I think it'd be fabulous, actually. I'm recognizing the fact that we have an awful lot of our listeners based in all over the world, actually. America, Canada, Australia, South Africa, all over Europe. And I suppose my point to those listeners is, if you go on toureasy.co.uk and have a look at some of these trips, what a great way to socialize and get to mix with the people of the UK. If you want to understand and get under the skin of the UK, not only are you going to be traveling around and experiencing these places, but you're going to be sat alongside and with people who are from the UK that you can also sort of benefit from. I think that would be fabulous, actually, for the overseas to come over and have it.
Absolutely. Let's bring it on. Great idea.
Absolutely love that. Sean, before I let you go, what I did want to do is just ask you a little bit more about your background. Clearly, you know your onions, as they say, with regards to coach travel. How long have you been in the industry, and what have you been up to in the industry over the past 20 or 30 years?
Well, there's the hint. How long I've been in the industry? Definitely 20 or 30 years. I'll leave the listeners to guess which of those two. I'm not going to pin my colours to that one. I got into the industry just because I love holidays, and I went to business school in the UK and Germany, and I just love traveling. My career choice was, I didn't do a degree related to travel or tourism. It was just business. But I just thought, how can I combine loving going on holiday with work? I'll go in the travel industry, and one thing led to another, and I got lucky, because you have to get lucky at most points in your career. Actually, you have to be lucky, but I was certainly lucky at the beginning. Ended up working for a small tourism representation company in London, and that was just so fascinating, because we represented overseas companies that wanted a presence in the UK to sell to the UK trade or consumer, but they were too small or niche to have their own office. Mm-hmm. So we represented, a sightseeing company in New York, a helicopter company in the Grand Canyon, hotels on Hawaii, hotels in Turkey. It was fabulous, because you just learned. You had so many different experiences. So I did that for a bit, and then someone I knew asked me to come and run their business, which was a tour wholesaler in the UK, selling to the coach tourism industry, and that's when I started really getting into the coach tourism industry. And I liked it so much that I made an offer to buy it from them. So I bought the business. It's like the old advert. I like the product so much, I bought the business. That's exactly what I did. Yeah. So in 2008, it was a week after Lehman Brothers went down. I decided to borrow a lot of money and go and buy the business. And luckily, the bank thought it was a good idea too, so we did it. And then we continued building the business. We ended up with a collection of tour operation in Australia, wholesaler in the UK, tour operation in the UK. Nice little portfolio of businesses, all doing group travel. So it's always about group travel. And then I had some changes in my life. And in 2017, I sold the business back to my management team, which was it was nice to take the business into third generation ownership, which so few businesses manage to achieve. And that was a really proud moment. And since then, I've been doing some consultancy. I've been working I do some work for the European Tourism Association because I've had a long-term association with them. I do some work for them. And I have a couple of non-exec roles outside the industry, because I think that keeps my mind fresh and I don't get too much groupthink around just tourism all the time. And then Toureasy came along. So in a whistle-stop tour, that's probably it. Happy to give any more detail, but that's a rough journey.
No, that's great. It was just, I think, just to sort of build up that picture for our listeners, really, as to, you've been in the industry for quite a while. You've been in a number of senior positions. You know your way around this industry inside and out. And like you were saying there, the European Tourism Association, I know very well over the years, and they're a great organisation that really do connect and join the dots with tourism, both destinations and tour operators around Europe. And I saw that you had a position there on the board as well, which is tremendous, and it just adds to the I suppose to the reassurance of the offering which you've got now with Toureasy. So what's the next steps for Toureasy? Obviously, we've just launched and we're just in there. What will be the next steps then? Is that an unfair question?
Well,
on the day you've launched,
I could give you the really obvious answer and make sure we get lots of lovely bookings. But I mean, beyond that, it's just building up the brand and awareness. And this is great, Jed, and I really thank you for this. And I hope the listeners have enjoyed hearing about what we're trying to do with Toureasy. But it's fundamentally about building the product now. A good friend of mine said to me once that you don't need great sales and marketing if you've got great product, and we need to make sure our product continues to evolve. And our launch product is great, and there's some really interesting stuff, but we've got so many ideas for what else we'd like to do through 2022 and 23. So I think it's building presence, building awareness, hopefully building loyalty and fun, but also really focusing on evolving the product, and also starting to get sustainability even further embedded into our side of the industry, and trying to work with those hotels and other partners that maybe aren't as focused on it as we might like them to be, and showing them in a positive way why it'd be a great thing to do more, and trying to put our energy into that as well. So that's the start of the list. There's a whole load of other stuff which I'm not going to talk about, but there's enough for us to be getting on with.
I'm sure there is. Sean, that's all the time that we've got for today. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking to us about Toureasy. We absolutely love what you're doing. We love the fact that you're leading the industry as a new entrant with Toureasy on these kind of sustainable and responsible practices. And hey, wish you all the very best. I'm sure I don't need to wish you the best, because I'm sure it's going to be an absolute rip-roaring success. But I do wish you all the very best anyway.
Thank you, Jed, and to you too, and thank you for giving me the time.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Huge thanks again to Sean for joining us this week. And you can find full details of the Toureasy trips which we spoke about today at toureasy.co.uk. We can't wait to start featuring some of these trips very soon on Low Season Traveller too. If you haven't already been tuning in to our influencer series of podcasts, you can find them on lowseasontraveller.com, Spotify or iTunes right now. Every Wednesday, we're speaking to a different young travel influencer who tell us what they do, how they do it, and most importantly, why they do it in a responsible and ethical way. These are some amazing young content creators with huge audiences, and you will love how inspirational they are. So that's it for this week. If you have any comments or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep your travel dreams alive, and remember that now, more than ever, travel is better without the crowds.